Welcome back to our channel where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. We provide you with the exciting news, Harry in shock, as Sarah Ferguson exposed Meghan and Andrew's terrible scandal. There is a new and controversial chapter in the ongoing drama of the British royal family. Reports say that Sarah, Duchess of York, made a statement that ties Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, to parts of Prince Andrew's shady past. Ferguson is said to have called Meghan a client in connection with the period when Andrew was associated to big gatherings on private boats and in Jeffrey Epstein's social network. The term client is always imprecise and has a lot of baggage because of the history it refers to. There is presently no independent or publicly verifiable evidence to back up the claim. Even though it is an unproven accusation, it has made things more complicated and caused additional tension in the already tight network of personal links in the royal family and the public stories told by the main people involved. The importance of the claim. There are a number of reasons why the accusation is important. For Meghan, there is a personal danger to her image right away. Since she married Prince Harry, she has tried to build an identity based on humanitarianism, being true to herself and breaking away from certain royal customs. In public life, reputation is an asset that can be passed on. Allegations, especially those involving sexual exploitation or ties to predatory networks, may change how others see someone, no matter what the court decides. The claim adds further stress to Prince Harry's already shaky family ties. Harry has put a lot of political and emotional energy into talking about problems with the way things are done at the palace and the media's seeming lack of interest in them. A latest charge that seems to involve his wife puts his efforts to protect her at risk as he continues to challenge the royal structure on a bigger scale. This also makes any interaction he has with other family members who have conservative ideas on loyalty and openness even more important. Thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, the claim leads to institutional questions about the monarchy, which is now going through a change under King Charles III, and is still dealing with the fallout from Prince Andrew's scandals. The article puts the carefully prepared stories that the Sussexes, and to some extent the palace, have been telling since 2020 at risk by overtly or secretly linking Meghan to a major family catastrophe that happened recently. The revival of conflation between present problems and earlier scandals pushes the institution to face concerns of supervision, transparency, accountability, and the bounds of privilege. Historical context: Prince Andrew Epstein and the yacht era. To understand the incendiary nature of this reported remark, it is essential to contextualize it within the historical framework of Prince Andrew's affiliations and the controversies commonly referred to as his yacht days. This term encapsulates a time when the Duke of York was often photographed and publicly linked to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell at opulent events aboard private yachts, at exclusive resorts, and in various elite social environments. The moments which superficially seemed as privileged leisure subsequently became important to civil and criminal inquiries about Epstein's trafficking network. Victim narratives and witness testimonies detailed recruiting coercion and sexual exploitation associated with Epstein's global connections. Public memory and thorough reporting have intertwined images of luxury boats, island getaways, and exclusive parties with charges that these environments were used to enable abuse. Prince Andrew's overt connections with Epstein and Maxwell, friendships, pictures, and public engagements became more challenging for the royal household to align with the expectations of a senior royal. An image released of Andrew with Epstein after Epstein's prior conviction solidified popular disquiet. The situation intensified when Virginia Giuffre, previously Roberts, a key plaintiff in civil lawsuit, said in a U.S. court document that she had been trafficked by Epstein and compelled to engage in sexual relations with Prince Andrew, with one purported incident happening during her minority. Prince Andrew has constantly and unequivocally refuted these charges. Confronted with increasing legal and reputational scrutiny, he participated in a harshly condemned BBC Newsnight interview in November 2019 aimed to elucidating his association with Epstein. The interview was seen unproductive by several observers since his comments and demeanor were considered unrealistic and devoid of empathy for the victims. Shortly thereafter, he declared his intention to withdraw from public responsibilities for the foreseeable future. The late Queen Elizabeth II subsequently revoked his active military roles and royal patronages. In 2022, he resolved the civil action with Giuffre for an unknown amount without admitting culpability. These occurrences adversely affected Andrew's image and presented significant hurdles to the institution's position. The significance of a solitary term client. In this context, Sarah Ferguson's purported usage of client to describe Meghan transforms an otherwise innocuous term into something more sinister. In a neutral context, client refers to a customer or user of services. In the contentious context of charges related to Epstein's network, the term client may be interpreted as an individual who acquired sexual services, a participant in exploitative relationships, or a person associated with networks of trade and transaction. The semantic flexibility is the fundamental source of present fury and conjecture. The intention behind Ferguson's use of the term, whether innocent, indirect, or provocative, remains unclear. Yet its invocation is inextricably linked to Andrew's historical affiliations, significantly influencing its interpretative significance for the public. Words in public discourse often serve as flashpoints due to their capacity for diverse, emotionally impactful interpretations. Linguistic selections by prominent people may serve as indicators deliberate or unintentional of alignment, scorn, support, or contempt. When such decisions are embedded in narratives with inherent moral and legal significance, the stakes of interpretation escalate. The overarching lesson is that a single word may have vastly diverse meanings based on the historical contexts and traumas it elicits among a certain group of listeners. Sarah Ferguson biography, historical disputes and connections. Any thorough investigation must also include the origin of the alleged statement Sarah, Duchess of York. Her life is intricately linked to the contemporary history of the royal family and the intrigue of tabloid media. Sarah Margaret Ferguson, born into a socially affluent milieu, gained public prominence with her marriage to Prince Andrew in 1986. The Duchess fostered an approachable and relatable public image that first garnered popular admiration as a counterpoint to perceived institutional aloofness. However, the amount of media attention created weaknesses that led to the final dissolution of the marriage. The couple divorced in 1996 after separating in 1992, a decision influenced by extensive tabloid publicity, including images of the Duchess in a compromising scenario with a former financial advisor, which caused familial embarrassment. Following the divorce settlements, she no longer had the title Her Royal Highness. In the next years, Ferguson attempted to reconstruct her career and financial stability by producing children's literature, securing sponsorships, and engaging in media projects. Financial difficulties and a significant controversy in 2010, where she was recorded in a sting operation seemingly proposing access to Prince Andrew for remuneration, complicated her public persona. She openly conveyed remorse, characterizing her conduct as a significant lapse in judgment. Notwithstanding the legal dissolution of their marriage, Ferguson and Andrew have maintained a strong relationship, cohabiting and demonstrating unified family obligations. Historically, she has been a fervent advocate for Andrew during his legal and reputational challenges, characterizing him as a man of benevolence and resilience. Her unwavering allegiance is a hallmark of her public character and influences how viewers perceive any perceived discord or provocative behavior on her side. The claimed allegation, if correctly attributed to her, presents a conundrum. Why would one of Andrew's most loyal supporters make a statement that seemingly expands the scrutiny around his most detrimental controversy and connects it to another notable family member? Motives and credible justifications. Investigations into motivation have yielded several ideas, none of which can be substantiated without more proof. One interpretative framework posits that Ferguson may have sought to divert or diminish scrutiny of Andrew by expanding the scope of examination, so tacitly contending that his environment included several participants, and that exclusive emphasis on him was unjust. This would constitute a tactical maneuver seen in past reputational crises, diverting attention to instill uncertainty or imply wider accountability. Another option is journalistic misreporting or misquotation. The ascribed statement may have been extracted from its context or rephrased in a manner that altered an innocuous comment into a provocative assertion. Misquotation and selective editing have a proven history of exacerbating confrontations, especially in contexts where social media snippets disseminate more rapidly than corrections. An errant term, a truncated word, or an inadvertent double entendre might serve as the foundation for a viral tale. A third, more personal explanation suggests that Ferguson may have been motivated by irritation jealously, or a need to reaffirm her significance amidst evolving royal dynamics. Personal rivalry within an extended family, particularly one under constant public scrutiny, are sometimes tumultuous and may provide comments that are frank, acerbic, even lamentable. Considering Ferguson's history of tabloid disputes and efforts to maintain a public persona, onlookers may justifiably contemplate emotional or status-oriented rationales. Each speculation emphasizes the inherent difficulty in discerning motives within public debates, while simultaneously demonstrating that every public statement from an individual associated with the family is prone to heightened scrutiny and reinterpretation. Meghan Markle, public trajectory and implications. Regarding the claim, Meghan Markle's public trajectory is complex. Prior to her marriage to Prince Harry in 2018, she was recognized as an American actress and a dedicated humanitarian, collaborating with organizations like World Vision and working in specific UN programs aimed at enhancing women's political involvement. Her marriage with Harry was often seen as a transformative event for the monarchy, representing the possible broadening of the institution's social and cultural dimensions. Meghan's time as a senior royal was tumultuous. She and Harry have openly denounced invasive, racially biased reporting by some segments of the British tabloid press and have criticized the palace for a perceived deficiency in institutional support. Their complaints influenced their 2020 choice to relinquish high royal roles and seek financial autonomy and professional endeavors in North America. Since departing from official positions, the Sussexes have established platforms focused on media production and philanthropy, creating Archewell securing production agreements and generating material that aims to shape their story. Their 2021 interview with Oprah Winfrey, the 2022 Netflix docuseries, and Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, exemplify attempts to articulate their viewpoint and to expound upon frustrations with the institution and media culture. The Sussexes' post-royal identity is fundamentally characterized by a discourse of authenticity asserting their role in confronting authority, prioritizing mental health and welfare, and revealing institutional shortcomings. The alleged connection between Meghan and Andrew's history jeopardizes that development. If accurate or even reasonably associated in public view, it would imply an involvement with secrecy and controversy that violates the couple's stated ideals. If inaccurate, it remains an effective narrative device for detractors aiming to depict Meghan as deceitful or purposefully self-serving. Response, calculus, legal, reputational, and psychological aspects. The calculation of a suitable reaction from Meghan and Harry is intricate. The couple's initial public quiet after the story prompted several interpretations. Certain observers recommend prudence, indicating that in situations involving potentially defamatory assertions, a swift, emotionally charged response may incur legal obligations or be used subsequently in court to formulate detrimental narratives. Consulting legal counsel, examining the origin of the claim, and drafting a meticulously articulated statement may be more prudent, although time-consuming strategies. Some argue that silence may be seen in the court of public opinion as either evasiveness or implicit acquiescence. The decision among swift counterattack, calculated legal measures, or deliberate quiet necessitates the evaluation of reputational, legal, and psychological factors. Legal methods inherently include trade-offs. A libel lawsuit may provide a definitive public record, perhaps compelling a publication to reveal sources, furnish proof, or issue a retraction and apology. It can formally restore a reputation. However, prominent defamation lawsuits can amplify media focus on the original claim and may compel plaintiffs to engage in adversarial proceedings that expose their private lives to more scrutiny. Furthermore, jurisdictional factors are crucial. The legal criteria, evidence requirements, and accessible remedies vary between the UK and the United States. Historically, UK defamation law has been seen as more favorable to claimants, a notion that fueled the discussions around libel tourism before revisions were implemented. The Defamation Act 2013 has elevated the standard in England and Wales by requiring that plaintiffs prove a publication has resulted in or is likely to result in serious harm to their reputation. In the United States, public figure litigants generally must satisfy the elevated criterion of demonstrating actual malice under the First Amendment, signifying that the defendant disseminated false remarks with knowledge of their falsity or with reckless indifference to their veracity. The varying standards influence both the choice to pursue litigation and the expected length and visibility of any judicial proceedings. Effective measures for addressing a reputational crisis encompass comprehensive fact-finding, determining the precise wording, context, audio, or witnesses to the statement, legal evaluation, carefully crafted public statements that maintain a balance between assertiveness and legal caution, and strategic engagement with allies and impartial commentators capable of shaping wider public opinion. For prominent persons affected by persistent media intrusion, psychological well-being and supportive counseling are essential elements of any response strategy. Institutional ramifications for the monarchy. The accusation comes at a critical moment for the monarchy. King Charles III has shown a desire for a streamlined monarchy that focuses public responsibilities among a reduced number of active royals. The fluctuations over the last decade, from the Sussexes' exit to Andrew's marginalization, have already hampered this strategy. The resurgence of Andrew's prior issues, reportedly associated with the Sussexes, would undoubtedly hinder Charles's attempts to modernize and simplify the institution. It prompts disquieting questions about governance, the culture of privilege that may have facilitated inappropriate affiliations, and the openness necessary to maintain public confidence in a hereditary institution. The monarchy's need to reconcile private familial allegiance with public responsibility placed Charles in a particularly precarious situation. Explicit measures to chastise or distance may exacerbate familial rifts. Conversely, inactivity might be seen as implicit approval or institutional indifference. There exists no definitive strategy for a royal family facing interconnected reputational challenges, and all potential alternatives include political and relational repercussions. A forceful public reprimand may exacerbate media narratives of internal conflict, while discreet private management might invite allegations of lack of transparency. Independent investigations or third-party evaluations may effectively illustrate a dedication to examination without public ostentation, yet they need meticulous scoping and unbiased appointments to be convincing. Evaluation supervision and organizational learning. A notably contentious area of investigation is to the screening procedure that preceded Meghan's integration into the royal family. Historically, the palace and security agencies conduct background investigations on potential wives of senior royals to ascertain security, reputational, or behavioral problems. These processes aim to identify any weaknesses that may impact national security or jeopardize the monarchy's public integrity. Should an accusation indicating previous associations between Meghan and those linked to Andrew be validated, it would prompt inquiries about the knowledge had throughout the courting and if any significant issues were conveyed or resolved. The mere possibility of retroactive examination is detrimental. Public trust in the palace has always relied in part on the conviction that it demonstrates wisdom and care in public representation. This episode may stimulate discussions regarding institutional learning, enhancing vetting protocols, clarifying accountability structures, and implementing improved mechanisms for conflict of interest disclosures. Contemporary institutions, be they royal family enterprises or nonprofits, are increasingly required to exhibit due care in evaluating reputational risks. Transparent, standardized procedures, together with the ability to reassess judgments based on fresh knowledge, may aid in alleviating future problems. However, more openness also has risks. It may disclose uncomfortable or compromising information and attracts greater public examination of personnel choices, media ecology, polarization, and the dissemination of rumor. The royal family's traditional reaction to controversy, embodied in the maxim "never complain, never explain," demonstrates a principle of restraint based on the belief that prolonged involvement exacerbates rather than alleviates public suspicion. However, the modern media landscape, defined by immediate social media distribution and algorithmically enhanced sensationalism, renders quiet a less dependable tactic. In an atmosphere where rumors proliferate rapidly and political groups use pieces to create reinforcing narratives, strategic silence may be seen as evasion or concealment. Conversely, a rapid and emphatic refutation may attract further attention and extend the media cycle. The public response to the stories has unsurprisingly polarized, reflecting pre-existing sentiments against Meghan and the royal family. Proponents of the Duchess have mostly characterized the claim as a malevolent slander aimed at undermining her credibility, contextualizing it within a wider trend of systemic animosity and racially charged tabloid conduct. From this viewpoint, the lack of prompt verification and the dramatic presentation serve as indicators to regard the news as untrustworthy. Certain defenders have suggested that Ferguson may serve as a channel for palace insiders or media operators aiming to shift focus away from Andrew's involvement. Critics saw the study as corroborative of enduring concerns about Meghan affirming a narrative in which she entered with a secret history and an aptitude for navigating aristocratic networks ambiguously for her benefit. Partisan media sources and social media platforms amplify these divided interpretations by favoring emotionally charged or vindictive material. This polarization exemplifies wider processes throughout modern information ecosystems. Confirmation bias causes people to choose interpretations that conform to existing ideas. Algorithmic curation promotes information that stimulates participation, and interpretative tribes develop around certain assumptions and evidence. The outcome is a feedback cycle where disputed assertions are integrated into current narratives instead of being evaluated based on corroborative evidence. This complicates fact-finding and public adjudication procedures, increasing the risk of rumors causing enduring reputational harm despite later corrections. Legal and procedural factors. Legal and procedural factors may also influence subsequent developments. If Meghan or her advisors initiate defamation proceedings against the publication of the accusation, strategic considerations like jurisdiction, evidence requirements, and the public relations implications of litigation would emerge. Defamation lawsuits involving prominent individuals are typically paradoxical. They may provide clarifying judgments or settlements that restore reputations, but they also risk exposing contentious information via public judicial processes that rekindle interest in the original allegations. Defendants in libel lawsuits sometimes use defenses, such as truth, honest opinion, or publishing about a topic of public interest. In intricate narratives involving several sources, litigation may compel the revelation of those sources and elucidating evidence, but it may also extend the focus on the claim. The palace's legal and investigative options are limited by the convergence of private family law, public responsibilities, and the monarchy's distinctive constitutional status. The institution lacks a clear procedure to publicly assess such allegations without conflating family privacy with public responsibility. Historically, the palace has used a combination of private advice, discreet reputational management, and carefully measured public communication. Intra-family dynamics and decision-making processes. The royal family must navigate the intricate balance between personal allegiance and civic duty. King Charles III confronts decisions with enduring consequences, whether to provide family support to a beleaguered brother, to publicly censure or separate himself from him, or to implement other strategies to mitigate institutional repercussions. Every decision has political and relational repercussions. The advice and prerogatives of family members, institutional counselors, and broader public expectations coalesce in a decision-making process that is intentionally cautious but may be seen as reactionary or hesitant at a time that seems to need unequivocal clarity. In familial interactions, the considerations extend beyond just appearances to include trust. Relationships of this nature, among siblings, in-laws, and extended family, are complicated by conflicting loyalties and histories that include past errors and reconciled grievances. The possibility of leaks, conflicting narratives, and factional media briefings need intra-family mediation and unambiguous communication lines. Independent mediation, or the designation of impartial fact-finders, may sometimes alleviate tensions by creating consensus on facts and facilitating coordinated responses. Potential paths and outcomes. Prospectively, the reported claim is an isolated, unproven piece of information that may substantially influence public narratives if supported by corroborative evidence. But it may also diminish if it is shown to be baseless or unsubstantiated. Several credible paths exist. Should reliable confirmation arise, the repercussions would undoubtedly be significant. The reputations of the persons mentioned would be compromised. Inquiries about the palace's judgment and control would escalate, and public confidence in the monarchy's capacity to handle issues may be further diminished. Corroboration may manifest in several forms: documentary proof, reliable witness testimony, or admissions, thereby altering both the legal and public relations contexts. In this situation, the institution may be obligated to implement stricter disciplinary actions, initiate an independent assessment, or pursue a more open interaction with the public. If the claim is unsubstantiated or disproven, the incident will be seen by many as just another example of invasive and sometimes irresponsible reporting that unfairly impacts those who question established standards. Retractions, corrections, or legal settlements may restore reputations, but the initial harm may be difficult to completely eliminate since quickly created impressions tend to be enduring. The palace and the mentioned people would still have the challenge of restoring their reputations, and the incident would probably be seen within the larger context of cultural conflicts about press freedom, institutional responsibility, and the treatment of public personalities. If the narrative remains ambiguous, numerous prominent debates reside in an extended gray area where neither total validation nor absolute vindication materializes. This ambiguity may be detrimental. It perpetuates the narrative in public discourse, enables various stakeholders to use it for their own purposes, and gradually undermines confidence. This may be especially detrimental, since institutions seem incapable of establishing or conveying clear facts, allowing rumors to occupy the evidential void. Comprehensive reflections, civic existence recollection, and institutional vulnerability. This event underscores persistent truths of public existence for notable families. Personal histories are subject to reinterpretation. Individual phrases may serve as symbolic pivots when integrated into broader narratives, and reputations are tenuous in media landscapes that favor sensationalism. It highlights the specific weaknesses of the British monarchy, which must concurrently navigate intimate relationships, ceremonial duties, and a moral authority reliant on public judgments of integrity and discernment. This story illustrates that the past is seldom entirely contained. Unresolved or inadequately addressed events may resurface to influence current politics and public opinion. Other institutions, corporate boards, political parties, non-profit organizations, can learn the need of establishing rigorous rules that reconcile privacy with openness, as well as the necessity for proactive communication methods that address complaints without exacerbating them. Institutional credibility is mostly established via persistent competence, rather than through sporadic crisis management efforts. Final assessment. As the primary stakeholders and their consultants contemplate their responses, be it via denials, legal recourse clarifications, or a choice to maintain strategic silence, the global audience will stay vigilant. The choices made in the upcoming days and weeks will determine whether this incident remains a fleeting and unsubstantiated rumor or evolves into a significant crisis necessitating a deeper institutional reckoning. Both trajectories will have repercussions for the persons explicitly mentioned and for popular opinions of the House of Windsor. In contemporary monarchy, when private narratives and public symbols are intertwined, such occurrences seldom impact just those directly engaged. They resonate across institutions, media landscapes, and the collective consciousness. Observers should recognize the origin of the claim and await verification before incorporating it into established narratives. The characters must navigate legal duties, personal welfare, familial loyalty, and public responsibility in a manner that maintains dignity while seeking clarity. The story underscores the significance of language, illustrating that in modern public discourse, a single phrase may rekindle past grievances, incite fresh divisions, and necessitate institutional actions that reconcile equity, transparency, and the public good. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for now.